What's going on, everyone? So, legendary head coach, or college head coach, not so much professional, but legendary college head coach Rick Pitino chimed in and said that he believes Dan Hurley is going to stay in UConn because of his family, that his family does not want to go to Los Angeles, and therefore he is going to stay. So, according to Rick Pitino, right, what I'm hearing, and I have no inside information, is that his father, Bob Hurley Sr., and his wife, Andrea, are very strong in his life, and they don't want to go. Pitino told the Post from his box in the grandstands at the Saratoga race course, which is holding a 4-day meet, which will be highlighted by Saturday's Belmont Stakes. So, again, according to Rick Pitino, he's not going to leave UConn because they do not want to go to Los Angeles. Now, there are other reports, not just with Rick Pitino, but a lot of reports that are like, hey, he's probably staying in UConn. A lot of people that are familiar with him that, are kind of talk to people. And my problem with the whole, like, we spoke to the brothers, cousins, nephews, uncle, that whole thing, it's hard to really trace, like, who's saying it. But a lot of the word is that he's probably staying in UConn, that this is more so a leverage play more than anything. So that way he can go to UConn and say, hey, that offer you want to give me that'll make me the third richest coach in NCAA? Yeah, well, I want to be the first richest coach in NCAA, and I want you to pay me this. Here's what the Lakers are giving me, 8 years, $100 million. I need you to match that, or at least come close, right? That he wants the legacy, that he wants the pedigree. And look, he has talked about how, yes, he does want to eventually go into the head coaching job. But a lot of people are making it seem like the Lakers are the only option that he'll ever have, right? A lot of people, well, he says he wants to go and be an NBA head coach, right? Like, again, we were in this position 20 years ago with Coach K. I mean, they offered him, and historically, all-time would have been the richest head coach in sports history, and he turned it down to stay with Duke, right? Like, again, you're talking about a guy that's leaving a lot behind. He'd be leaving his family. He'd be leaving his legacy. He'd be leaving his potential history, right? It's a lot to kind of go, okay, I'm going to do that, to go to the Lakers and be in a situation where, yes, I have to win now, which he wants to do. Supposedly, he wants to go to a situation when he joins the NBA where he's going to have an opportunity to win, and he wants to go to a franchise that has a history of winning, right? He doesn't want to go to the NBA to be a failed head coach in the NBA. He wants to go to the NBA to kind of establish his program, establish his roots, but also be a winning head coach in the NBA and have that success in college basketball and be one of the few to ever do so in any sport, go from, college to professional and have success in both categories. So there is this like give and take, but it's just, he doesn't have to do it now is the thing. And when he finally does decide, hey, I'm ready to take that leap into the NBA, which may be a year, 2 years, maybe 10 from now. I don't know, right? Like if he does three-peat, does he go and say, okay, well, let me try to win 4 in a row now or then some, right? He might just keep going until he loses. And so that's the thing. Like, who knows where his head at? Who knows what he wants? And if his family is like, no, we want to stay here, he's probably going to go with his family, right? And it does make sense that look, he wouldn't be the first person to use the Lakers as leverage to go and gain better benefits. Right? I mean, we've seen it recently. Jason Kidd linked to the Lakers, boom, immediately gets a contract extension. Tyronn Lue linked to the Lakers, boom, immediately gets a contract extension. Right? Again, Dan Hurley would not be the first one to use the Lakers as leverage to position a play in order to end up getting a more lucrative deal where he's currently at. Right? So, again, I would love it, but I still really think JJ Redick is going to be the head coach. I do. I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong before. While you're watching this video, it could be announced that Dan Hurley is going to the Lakers and that the Lakers are signing him. That very well could be the case. It's just there seems to be a lot of noise stating that, like, hey, he's not coming. That don't get your hopes up. He's not coming. And if he doesn't come, then JJ Redick's going to end up being the head coach. The Lakers, they get their they get to kind of go, hey, well, what else were we supposed to do, right? Like, hey, we tried to get Dan Hurley. He didn't want to come. We offered him an absolute bag. We did everything we could to try to convince him to leave UConn and come. He didn't want to come. He wants to try to go continue his legacy. What do you want us to do? We hired JJ Redick. He was next in line, right? I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And that is very likely the scenario that's going to take place. And again, I could be completely wrong. Some people probably think, watching this video right now, probably think I'm wrong. But don't be shocked if he turns down the job and JJ Redick ends up being the head coach. Right? We've heard for months that JJ Redick is the guy. JJ Redick's going to be the head coach. Then out of left field, Woj drops the Woj bombs of Woj bombs, and everybody's like, oh, here we go. It wasn't JJ. JJ was just a smokescreen. JJ was just this. I don't think he was a smokescreen. Right? Now, that doesn't mean that they can't get Dan. Doesn't mean that I don't want Dan. Doesn't mean that they haven't been talking the last month to Dan. They probably have. But they haven't had one single meet and greet. And this has been going on for a month. They finally do it. He jumps on a plane and goes back home to decide. I mean, that's usually not good. Usually you have multiple meetings in that month span. Right? And look, he's supposed to make a decision in the next few hours, 24, 48 hours. I think we have a decision by Monday or Tuesday. Supposedly, he wants to make his decision before the practice that UConn has. So maybe that ends up happening. But it's just, I wouldn't be shocked if when all is said and done, you end up hearing, hey, guess what? JJ Redick's the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Again, I could be wrong. And look, I would prefer Dan. I would. I like Dan. I think, at first I was kind of on the fence, but really kind of evaluating both sides, really kind of thinking about the direction in which the Lakers are trying to go based on Dan. I just think that he makes the most sense. And I think if you can hire him, great. I think if he signs on, beautiful. But it's just, again, he's leaving so much behind to take a Lakers job in which Lakers haven't had a good history of being patient with coaches. And the fan base doesn't have a good history of being patient with coaches. And Dan, again, go look at his history. He likes to take his time. This isn't a guy that goes to organizations and turn them around immediately. It's a guy that likes to take 3-4 years to really kind of get his philosophies and get his systems down and, get his team together and all that stuff. And we're an organization that is, which we should be, right? Like, it's championship or bust for us. But again, it's a lot of pressure that he's leaving. He's comfy. He's cushy. He could never win another national championship, and he's set. He's set. He's good. He doesn't have any worries. Where if he goes to the Lakers after the first year, if we lose in the first round again or miss the playoffs, something like that, what do you think the conversation is going to be about Dan? What do you think the conversation is going to be about Lakers? Right? It's just, it's a lot to weigh. It's a lot to evaluate. And not everyone wants to do it. Again, Coach K didn't want to do it. And we offered him $40 million, I think it was. And you're talking in 2004, right? Like, yeah, he's being offered $40 million or $100 million now. Like, $40 million back then is like 5 times that now, something like that. It's talking almost a $200 million contract. It's just, I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. Don't be surprised. Look, treat it as like, hey, it's likely not going to happen. And then that way you're not disappointed if it doesn't, right? If you look at it as like, it's probably not going to happen, rather than, oh no, it is going to happen. And then, now you're disappointed. So, but anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that the Lakers do end up getting Dan Hurley? Do you think that he ends up signing on and just says, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Do you think no? Do you think it's not going to happen? Do you think, yeah, look, his family wants to stay. He if he wanted to sign, he would have signed in LA or at least stayed and molded over in LA. Now, granted, I know a lot of people are worried that he went back home to go back to Connecticut to try to evaluate and figure out what he wants to do. I don't think that that's a shock. And I even talked about that happening. I made a video about it here on this channel, and I was like, he probably has the interview and he probably goes back home and thinks it over for, the weekend or whatever. So I don't think that that's really a surprise. I expected that to happen. Also, he's got his team that he's been very transparent with. He's got to talk to his family. I'm sure he's talking to the organization. There's a million things that he has to figure out that make more sense for him to do at home in Connecticut, right? But I don't know. It's just, look, if it's true and his family doesn't want to stay, is he really going to leave his family to go be the head coach with the Lakers? Probably not. Probably not. Probably just stay in UConn. UConn will probably give him more money. I don't know if they'll give him $100 million, but maybe they give him whatever, 8 years, $80 million or something like that. And there you go. Or 5 years, $50 million, something. To where it's like, we're not quite there, but we're close. He's turned down more money before to stay where he's happy. I just don't get your hopes up. If it happens, great. We'll talk about it. I'll be happy. We'll celebrate it. It'll be great. But I really lean towards it's probably still JJ Redick. Anyway, again, love to hear thoughts and opinions, however you feel, down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.